Hello, hello, everyone. Good morning, good day, wherever you are in the world. This is Rest, Reset, and Reflect. My name is Yam Adedwaji. I'm a writer and sabbatical coach, and I work with mid-career techies to help them create creative, intuitive, and joyful career breaks to realign to their values and themselves. And this space is a space for us to find a bit of pause in the day, reconnect to your breath, or if you're like me, you're on the West Coast right now, start your day. And we typically have a meditation time. We're going to pop that towards the end of this hour around the 45 mark this time because we have a special guest that I'm really excited to chat with today. And just to set the context, we're talking about today career break confidence in uncertain times. I think everybody knows shit is wild. Is wild. And so, when you're thinking about is it foolish to take a career break? We are going to talk to an OG, an expert though, around career breaks and sabbaticals, Katrina McGhee, and she's going to give some wisdom and knowledge and insights for folks who are in that place. So with that, I'll kick it over to Katrina. Would love to just hear a little bit about yourself and what your sabbatical story is.
Yeah. Oh, a little bit about myself. So yeah, I've been doing work helping and supporting people who want to take sabbaticals and career breaks for about 9 years now. But it all sort of was born of my own experience. So, high achiever, gold star collector, corporate climber, math degree, actuary, top MBA, top 20 MBA school, pivot into market research at a Fortune 100, like really hitting all the all the marks, right? And also feeling like I was getting further away from myself. So I hired a life coach in 2011 and had this epiphany when I was really just searching for like a third career because that would be easy, right? I just want to make money doing something I like. So like just help me figure out what it is I really like. And then I just had this epiphany appear where it was like, you don't want another job, you just want to take a break. And I was like, oh my gosh. Um, $1,500 in my bank account, like, at that point, maybe like a year into my MBA, like post MBA career, it just was not an optimal time, but it felt like a very truthful statement. And so I got a plan together and saved $40,000 in 18 months, left for a 20-month break, changed my life, came back to corporate to pay off all my debt. That was my new big goal. Did that in less than 2 years, became completely debt free, paid off all my student loans. And yeah, I got certified at that point as a life coach and started helping people. And so, I like to say that I'm here to help the people who chase the gold stars and climb the ladder too, and realized, it wasn't all sunshine and roses at the top. I help them use a break as a catalyst to create a better life, to reimagine what life could look like, what work could look like, and to just deeply rest, restore, recharge, and get excited about life again. So I'm really lucky to be able to do something that means a lot to me and that brings me joy, just in showing up every day to help other people.
Yeah, I love that. And I especially appreciate what you said about like, you had $1,500 in your bank account, not logistically an optimal time, but the truth of the statement of like, oh, I don't want a job. I want a break.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious which I'm sure that resonates for a lot of people now who may be feeling either the crunch or just feeling like they're wanting something different.
Hmm.
I'm curious for you as you have been working with your clients that are taking breaks in this season. How are you strategizing with them to kind of navigate the uncertainty of the current time we're in?
Yeah, it's interesting because I fully acknowledge that we are in uncertain times. But I think also having done this for 9 years, I had a client who was starting her break right as the war in Ukraine was breaking out.
Mhm.
And she had booked a ticket to Eastern Europe, right? And so it was like, it's uncertain. Like, am I even allowed to travel? There's about to be a war. Is it going to become World War III? Like, like what's going to happen? I had a client who was in New Zealand when COVID lockdown started happening, and she had 24 hours to decide, do I get locked down indefinitely? Because, no one knew how long it was going to be in this foreign country, or do I come home and get locked down in my apartment when I've just planned and saved, for this break? And so I recognize that, like, globally, I think we're all kind of going through it right now. But I also want to acknowledge, I think if you're waiting for certainty, you will never find it, because you will either see your external circumstances being out of your control, or if you're lucky and those are calm, there might be something personally that feels like your own version of a pandemic. It might be a health issue for you, an issue with a loved one, like a
Mhm.
financial crisis, right? Like, there's never going to be a time where everything feels certain. So
Yeah.
I think, like, there are some basic things that I always go back to and that I've been, using in addition to, like, other stuff, because, like, times always feel uncertain. They're definitely uncertain now, but I think, like, that's been something that has kind of been present for as long as I've been coaching. So number 1, right? Like, I am helping people really honor the knowing and the feeling and the desire for time off, for change, for creating a break. Like I said, $1,500 in my bank account. I own a property in Atlanta that, because of the housing market crisis, was underwater. Like, I was not making money. I was, like, losing $300 a month on that, renting it out. I mean, I just had, like, no reason to think that was possible. But by focusing on the desire and the dream of what I could create, right? Like, that helped me be willing to handle the discomfort of the uncertainty a lot more than I would have been if I was just focusing on all the things that I don't control. So I think, like, tapping into that desire, getting clear on your why, and, like, just really honoring that knowing and deciding that you want to be a person that honors the messages that something inside of you is sending you about what you're supposed to do with this one precious life. I think that's critical. And I definitely support my clients in sort of, like, quieting the noise around them to hear that voice and to kind of stoke those flames to get
Mhm.
it burning as fuel. And I think, like, the other important thing is really focusing on having a life that fuels you versus depletes you. I think when you're in it and everything feels uncertain, if you have even, like, you know, 5% of your tank is full, you're like, I've got some gas. I'm just
Yeah.
going to keep
Yeah.
going. I've got gas. I can do this. And it's like, dude, you're on 5%? And I think even knowing that there's a life where you can just have pit stops and gas, like, comes and it's amazing, and you're not running on empty and you're not running on fumes, people forget that. And so I think it's, like, equally important to imagine a life and know that you are capable of so much more when you are restored, when you are aligned, when you are excited about life. Like, it's really helping people remember what is important and giving them an outside kind of coachy perspective on the bigger picture of life. And the last thing I'll say is, you have expertise, you have a network, you have experience. These things don't evaporate in an uncertain time. You
Mhm.
take them with you. So if
Yeah.
you want to take a break, we really have to cultivate belief and create more evidence for your brain to accept I am
Mhm.
still valuable. I am valuable, and the assets that I need when I'm going to come back and look for my next thing, like, they are going to be there, and I'm going to be a better version of myself. So it's a lot of belief work. I think a lot of perspective shifting and, like, helping them through some coachy questions, like, create awareness and perspective that is supportive of them living a better life versus trying to, like, just brace themselves to, like, grind through really uncertain times that, spoiler alert, are never going to end.
Yes. Yes. But I think that's a really important point, that it's kind of like, all right, let me just hunker down and wait till everything gets more settled.
Mhm.
When, like, I'm of the mind that, I mean, and I really don't mean this in a fatalistic sense. I think things are probably going to get worse before they get better.
Yeah, I agree.
So, and it's kind of like, I always think of the thing too of, like, time is not a renewable resource. And
It's
it's
not.
like, I mean, the time's gonna pass anyways, whether you're, on that 5% grinding in your job or whatever aspect of your life, or whether you're, tapping back into your fuel and your desire and your vision in order to get to a life that you love.
Absolutely. And, you're right. Time is not renewable. And so it's also like everything that you have today, like, don't take it for granted, because your health, your well being, the support of your family, like, whatever it is that is beneficial to you, that is meaningful to you, like, it is not guaranteed to just exist into perpetuity or to exist until the day that you die. And I think part of having a different mentality about breaks is like, I'm going to stop to really enjoy the freaking life I have worked so hard to create. Like,
Mhm.
I'm going to sink into the goodness of that and really appreciate it and really like see the benefit of it. Because, like, if you want to pause that moment until you've retired or until you're like 60
Mhm.
or until your brain decides it feels safe enough or certain enough, like, you know, you might not have your health, you might not have your loved ones, you might not have, you know, like, there's so many things that could be different. And I think we just forget that. Like, we just are looking for this one thing, the uncertainty and the discomfort to go away. And it's like, as soon as you go away, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it big. And it's like, it's never going to go away. And all the things behind you that are here in your life right now are not guaranteed to be there when you arrive at that moment, if you arrive at that moment.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think that's such an important point, and it also speaks to, I think, this need that I also think about of how do we create stability within ourselves, and how do we
Yeah.
take ownership of stability? Not that there are most things that we can't control, but what are you pointed to, the skills, the expertise, the network that we have, the connections that we have, all these other aspects and resources that we have in order to really tap into what stability means for us. Because yeah, as you said, it's like things are going to be uncertain, and you're never going to have, this crystal clear moment of certainty. And so what I'm hearing from you is that there's really a work around, one, being not comfortable with, but being able to be present with the discomfort, and
Mhm.
kind of cultivating the inner resources in order to be able to, take steps forward in the direction you want, even when things don't feel crystal clear.
Yeah, and it's so wild to me how easily like the high achievers that I'm working with, I don't know about you, but they forget how freaking resilient and creative they are. It's like no one was born out of the womb knowing how to lead a like billion-dollar company, knowing how to be like the best marketing director, like whatever. Like those are not that's not like an imprint on us where it's like I'm just activating my imprint, you know, like or my blueprint. It's like you learn that. You learn that and you face challenges and you face setbacks and then you got back up and you did some stuff. And so people can achieve so much in life, but then like very easily dismiss it as luck in the
Yeah.
sense that they, to the point of like, what do you control? And you're finding your power and finding and focusing on what you can control. It's like, I think we're just sometimes really dismissive of how resilient and how much we can figure things out if forced to, because we just get comfortable and then we're sort of like, well, that was luck and that was that manager that put me up for that promotion. And then and it's like if we don't recognize our own power to co-create with the universe, right? Results that we want. I think it's easy to feel disempowered all the time and then you're only making decisions based on fear. And spoiler, like those decisions you can make them, but you're never going to be fully safe. You can never be 100% safe with anything, regardless of what decisions you're making. And also, a life constructed trying to avoid fear is a lot smaller and a lot more, I don't know, diminishing of your light than a life spent chasing big dreams that you have and goals.
Yeah. 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 I think really, really beautifully said. And so I'm curious as well. So you have guided hundreds of people through breaks, and you've mentioned a few things that sounds like, that kind of makes for lack of a better word, maybe a successful break or maybe fulfilling break for folks.
Mhm.
From your experience, what themes, qualities, or practices kind of make for a fulfilling break for folks?
Yeah. Well, first of all, is deciding and determining what fulfilling and successful means to you because every single person means something different by a successful break, right? So for some people, it might be like I've been so disconnected and detached from my own true self and what I want. Like a successful break for me is feeling like I got back on the right path and that like every step I'm taking after my break is leading me closer to the life I want to live. For
Mhm.
other people, it might be about recharging. Like maybe they've lost, like, oh my God, like health, like maybe their health has deteriorated, their mental health, their physical health. And for them, a successful break is coming back feeling steady and strong and having healthy habits that will last them a lifetime, right? Like there's a whole entire spectrum of what that means. So I think one of the foundational things is helping people get very, very clear on what their purpose is, and honing that purpose to be empowering, succinct, and clear. A lot of times my clients will want to throw like corporate speak into their purpose statement so that it sounds sexy. Like I could put this on a LinkedIn profile. It's like, no, that's not what this is. That's not what this is. So it's like getting to the truth in like very plain English in words that really resonate and mean something to them, not necessarily to others. So I'm all about that. I think that's really important. And I think, another piece of having a really successful and fulfilling break is really shifting your focus to what you do want. So we're again moving away from what you don't want. And we're actively putting, your themes and activities for your break really centered around like, what do I want to experience in my life? And then your break is going to test you. So I think a big piece of supporting people and having successful, fulfilling experiences is helping them show up to do the work when their break is testing the
Mm,
thing that created the misalignment and the burnout in the first place, right? A lot of times it's a boundaries issue. Like,
mm,
you'll think it's your job and your job is not making it easy, but your desire to overwork and to prove your worth is going to get you every single time. Because even if somebody dropped you into a corporate company where people were like, we just love the work you do. We think you're amazing. You're going to be like, awesome. But some part of you is going to freak out if it feels too easy and try to make it
mm,
hard because hard is what feels safe, because hard is how I'm proving, right? So it's like all of those sabotaging programs. I think your break is a chance to rewrite those, but a lot of times, like you can't fully see them
yeah,
and
yeah.
know how to rewrite them if you don't have sort of this unbiased external, like person, a coach, like helping guide you through that. So I think that is part of creating those successful experiences as well. And that's a piece of it, is having some way, whether it's a person, a coach, like lots of reflection, journaling, whatever your thing is, to really see yourself and to like see the things that come up that might have been initially really challenging for you and helped kind of co-create the experience that you're in that you didn't love. Did I lose you? I feel like I've got my own show now. Oh my goodness. I hope it's not the internet.
Apologies for that.
That's okay. I was just there and I was like, I don't want to be here without her. I'm just gonna I'm just gonna wait.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
So please continue.
Oh yeah, no. So I kind of wrapped it up. So that was, like those were some of the things. And I just, I think success again is a very personal definition, but I really believe um part of what I bring to the equation is holding belief when my clients don't initially have it. I think it is so powerful, again, whether it's a coach or just a person in your life, connecting to someone who sees the vision that you desperately want to believe in, but you just can't quite put your hands on and you can't quite believe
Yeah.
it to be true. Like borrowing that energy from someone that it's possible and like seeing it for you, like there is nothing quite like it. And I think, as entrepreneurs, similarly, I've had coaches in different endeavors I've done, within my business. And whenever I'm trying to create something new, even the book, when I had to write Taking a Career Break for Dummies, that was so freaking hard. I've never written a book. It was 100,000 words. I am not like an author by trade. I am not a writer really. It was so challenging, but like having a team of people supporting me that are like, you're going to write this book. We see this all the time. People come in here not knowing how, like they say they don't know how to write, but we've seen some of your stuff. We know you're good, like whatever. Borrowing their belief was sometimes essential for me to believe it myself. And I think the same is true when it comes to taking a break. And I've had clients get freaking poached out of their break early to take a job that they're really excited about. So, if your definition of success is pivoting and creating a better career opportunity when it's over, I've seen people land dream jobs after a break. I think anything is possible. You just have to design the break, know what success is, and then design a break that's going to help you like do the things you need to do to be able to like realize the fulfillment and the success of that break.
Yeah. 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 And so what I'm hearing a couple of things. One is definitely that having a clear definition of what success means to you, not your boss, not the industry, not your family, not your
Yeah.
partner, not your friends, for you.
Yeah.
And what I'm also hearing is that you need a team. I mean, even if it's, one other person, a coach or someone, it really is not just a solo endeavor of I by myself am going to do this thing, which is very countercultural. Like I need some support around me
Yeah.
in order to make this possible.
Yeah, I think it's just such a better experience. I had a life coach. I worked with her for 14 months.
Mhm.
We finished working together before my break started. But over those 14 months, I created like a whole different reality, a different mindset, a different approach, so much awareness. And that was what helped me have a like break where I could come back and land 5 job offers in 5 weeks because I felt confident about that experience and I designed it to be aligned with my definition of success and then fulfilled that success, right? And so I think like I learned that experience and I'm able to like impart that on my clients as well.
Yeah, yeah. And I love what you're speaking to as well, and this is my approach and perspective as well, is that your career break, your sabbatical is a portal for transformation, and it's a
Mhm.
portal for creating an aligned life and a life and career that matches who you are. And so that is why kind of and you've spoken to it all throughout, that is why there is a lot of this inner work and reflection of like, oh wait, I thought just if I was away from my job, I would be like,
Yeah.
cool, now I'm just gonna rest. But oh wait, I feel really uncomfortable with nothing to do. What do I do now?
Yeah. Absolutely. People will turn their break into a job if you let them. I mean, they'll like doom scroll their way into job searching and then like be applying for jobs when they're supposed to be on a break. I mean, all kinds of like self-sabotaging and break sabotaging things can come up, but it's like you got to get that stuff in check.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and so I'm curious for you, what do you see with your clients? Because I know that's one thing that, people can, maybe not initially think about, right? If they're
Mhm.
not working with a coach around the break, that,
Yeah.
they're like, "All right, like, I am here, I'm on this break," that one, either they're like, "Ooh, like, this is really uncomfortable, like,
Yeah.
don't have any structure, I feel guilty that I'm not working," or I
Mhm.
know some people too are like, "Oh my gosh, I'm afraid about running out of money," even though
They have the money? Yeah.
they have the money and they planned and they set it aside, but they're like,
Uh-huh.
keep checking their bank account. Do I have
Yep.
enough money? So I'd love to hear kind of what you see with your clients and how you support them through that.
Yeah. So I have 2 kinds of clients, as far as, like, when they find support. So the first kind are like, "Oh, I really wanna take a break," and either A, I'm not 100% sure I can, or I haven't completely decided, but, like, I'll start working with Katrina to get clear
Yeah.
on that and to make my break blueprint happen, which basically is, like, the plan for how it could happen. So planners, deciders, they
Mhm.
will find me before it happens. We'll make the blueprint. They'll get their mind right. We'll talk about it. And I think they come into their break with an energy of confidence and feeling prepared and
Yeah.
kind of knowing what to expect. So they have a really, generally, like a really positive experience. Sometimes they'll come back at some point during the break for like a tune up. But other people, the other kind of client will find me on a break. And it's kind of what you described, right? So one of my clients that I really love working with, he took a break and did like, I think 3 months of international travel in Europe and had a great time, easily distracted by all of the newness and the fun, right? But then he came back and it's like, well, now that I'm not traveling and I can't really talk about this, sexy fun thing I'm doing that whatever, it's like, what am I supposed to do at this time? Do I just go back to look for a job? Like, what does one do if they're not traveling? And so it's this question of like, okay, let's back it up. Let's
Mhm.
make your blueprint. Let's figure out how much of your blueprint you have unconsciously or unintentionally like already fulfilled, right? Like maybe if you weren't even knowing what it was, like let's figure out how much of your purpose you fulfilled, what your themes are, if you've like, kind of achieved some of those.
Yeah.
But then let's figure out what you want for the rest of this time. And so the people that find me kind of in the middle of a break that are already like navigating, what I see is a need to go back to the basics, to go back to the blueprint. A lot of times they've done some of this stuff in their head without knowing it, but there's always huge gaps. And so it's really about filling the gaps. Everybody really just needs a vision and clarity to be like, if I'm making the rest of this break intentional,
Mhm.
what does that mean? And what do I need to get out of it for it to feel like it was a worthwhile and
Yeah.
successful endeavor, right? And so that's really at the core, that's really what we're doing. Anytime I bust out a blueprint and we're doing some of the like foundational work, it's really just getting clear, like, what is success? How do I achieve it? Let me be intentional about the remainder of my time. I feel like I have seen so many different kinds of breaks, so many different kinds, people with kids, people without, breadwinners, people with just one income, people that are guidance counselors, people that are VPs or C-suite people, like everything in between, right? And I think one thing that ties them all together is this desire for life to be better on the other side of a break and to feel like their break was a point of life improvement, right? Sometimes, I mean, most of the time that means transformation, but there are a couple clients where they weren't like, I need a whole entire transformation. I just need to change my whole self,
Yeah.
but they are like, I would like to do things a little differently when I
Mhm.
come back to work. And so I think it just means figuring out what that looks like and how do we set the foundation for that to happen,
Yeah.
like beyond the break. And so, regardless of when people find me, I mean, even if somebody finds me at the very end, we're
Mhm.
going back and doing their blueprint because it gives you the language to say, what did I get from this time? Why was it important?
Mhm.
How did it benefit me? What did I take away from it? And then for them to be like appreciative and clear and motivated on like, yeah, my break was a gift. And this is like a gift I gave myself. And like, I'm proud of that. And I can speak to it with more confidence.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I appreciate that, that even if somebody comes to you in middle of break, end of break, that it's like, all right, let's go back to and clarify what is your vision
Yeah,
that you can understand how that has played out, how that hasn't, and how you kind of reconnect into yourself. Um,
absolutely.
and I also love in terms of thinking about talking about the end of the break, I think this is another place where people have questions. Like maybe some people are like, oh, like I'm totally good with taking your break, but like what happens after, right? Particularly if it's someone who, I would say maybe either if they're kind of entering like a forced career break, but
Hmm.
they're what I call like reclaiming it, right? So
Yep.
maybe like they were laid off and they're like, well, I want to make some of this time intentional before maybe jumping into a job search. Or, they're leaving a job, and maybe it's like a really good job, good pay, all
Mhm.
these kind of things. It's so important to at the end of the break like really integrate the experience, right? And apply it to life moving forward. Could you share a couple examples of clients and how you've worked with them to do that and then what that's meant for kind of their life on the other side of the break?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, I think anybody who goes through a break being intentional and thoughtful feels like they've changed in some way and they've gained insight into life, the meaning of life, not necessarily like although sometimes, but like not necessarily like the big existential kind, but just what does a good life mean to me? And how do I want to be living my life? Right. And what feels purposeful and what doesn't. So, I think the desire then for everyone is how do I take this forward so I don't lose this once I've reintegrated into life, post break? So I do have some clients who find dream jobs. And one of my clients that recently found and landed a dream job, like it was kind of unexpected. Honestly, she was just happened to see it pop up. I don't even remember where. And she was like, I might apply to it. And she
Yeah.
applied like on her phone, on vacation, like not at
Mhm.
all this intensive process. But she was like, this really seems great. And like, I'm not quite ready to come back for my break, but I would maybe come back a little early for this. And then flash forward, she got an interview right away. She did the interview, she got the offer, and she's in the job. Her job is awesome. It's in a dream industry, but it's also hard and it's demanding. And she, is an engineer by trade and she's managing a bunch of people. And so for her, integrating, right, looked like carrying those benefits, designing a break that was going to feel successful and give her what she needed, and then recognizing a good opportunity. But then also, she has a lot of practices that she developed on her break that she's obviously modified for time constraints that support her feeling connected to herself. So, like, she disconnects from work when she comes home. Like we do a whole like she does like a whole like mini sensory thing where it's like the five senses, something that feels cozy, something that, like smells nice, something that like looks like a scenery that she can look out the window. Like it's like all five senses, just kind of like calming, bringing her back to herself. What she does on the weekend, she wants to run. She was in her 50s. She started running during her break. She forces herself to hold that consistency and that commitment to running X number of times a week, right? It's not always easy. She really wants to do it, but like there are ways that
Yeah.
she's modified pieces of herself to bring that forward. And then I have other clients who it's really about like the work that they find. So one of my clients, was on a sabbatical, came back to her company, really did the work similarly to like bring things that brought her joy, like pottery that she discovered during a break into her life when she went back. But then flash forward like 2 years later, and she decides to go on a career break and she leaves the company. And then it's like a whole new different level of exploration. And her version of reintegration looked like meeting with a financial advisor and realizing that she's basically like barista-fi. And
Mm,
so having that mindset shift of being like, okay, work isn't completely optional, but it's kind of like salary is not like nearly the requirement that I've previously had with my six-figure salary. And so, what do I want to do and how do I want to fill my time? And she teaches pottery part-time. She works at a studio, but she also does consulting for things that she, did in her past life, but just the part that she really likes, not all the stuff she didn't like. And it's just really fun to see her kind of creating like multiple streams of income. And so for her, integration looks like being really clear on what do I need
yeah.
and then building a life that serves that versus trying to go back to, well, what did I leave? And let me like restart that and then figure out how to retroactively like make myself a little happier, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, no. No, and I love what you're pointing out that reintegration is unique to each person,
Mhm.
right? So for some people it might be maybe they do feel cool with like, cool, I'm gonna go back to kind of what I was doing before.
Yeah.
But maybe for some people it's like, oh, like I got this whole other new line job. Maybe for some people it's like, cool, I actually am kind of semi-retired. Or for other people, like for me, it was more kind of like, let me switch more into entrepreneur route, right? So I think that is really important for folks
Mhm.
to tap into because I suspect that folks can also be thinking like, and maybe this is a little bit the high achiever control piece that it's like, okay, like I'm just going to take this little break and then I'm just going to basically go back to what I'm doing. But there can be this whole opening up of like,
Yeah.
oh, actually there's more here and actually I want something different. And so being
Oh, yeah.
open to that that change.
Yeah, and inside BreakSpace, which is the community I run for sabbatical takers and break takers, career break takers with Lyndall Farley, we see this with our members where people will come in and they'll be like, I'm on a 3-month break. And then 3 months later, they're like, I started looking for jobs and my whole entire insides were like repelling that and they were resisting that. Like, what does this mean? I think it means you need a longer break, right? So we see people extending breaks all the time because I think the vision when you're planning the break is 3 months feels wild. 6 months feels like forever. A year feels like eons, right? When you're standing at the place where you've never taken an actual break from
Yeah.
your work in your whole adult life, that amount of time looking forward at it can feel almost overwhelming and like, oh my God, I could create 14 businesses and like get my health back on track in no time. But that's not
Similar
actually
language.
yeah, right? But, like, that's not actually what happens,
Yeah.
and there's decompression, right? There is healing burnout, there is sort of peeling back the layers, there's exploration that is not rushed, there's reconnection, there's connecting with others, like, there's so many rich, valuable things that happen, and your pace just slows
Yeah.
way the F down when you go on a break, and so I think people who maybe estimate the short side of how long they think they can be bored for, which by the way, that's not like really what happens. But like how long could I just do nothing, even though it's not nothing?
Yeah.
Like 3 months, 6 months. But then when they're in it, they're like, oh wow, like I need more time or I want more time. And so then it gets extended. And so I think like we see that a lot in the membership, especially, but people just claiming more time because the vision that you have, is based off of what you knew. And what you knew was like no breaks. So, yeah, 3 months feels decadent. But when you're in it, you're like, how did I ever survive never having even taken 3 months off, you know?
Yes, yes. No, absolutely. I mean, I what happened with my break was that I ended up being like, "Oh, like, I actually don't wanna go back to work, but
Yeah.
I'm not financially independent, so I do need to go back."
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, it's really, like, once you were in it, you're right, it's like 3, 6 months, it's like I meant mine was a year, and I honestly felt like I could have gone longer.
Oh, yeah, mine was supposed to be a year. I budgeted for a year, but I was
Mhm.
so good at managing my money
Yeah.
that 8 months in, I was like, "I could just keep going." So I went until I was almost broke, which was 20 months, right?
Mhm.
So, like, I just kept going and going and going for that very reason. I was very good at being unemployed. I know some of my clients do wrestle with it. Some people, like you see on the post and stuff, like, they're like, "Oh, I just gotta get back to work." I
Yeah.
was like, "No." I was like, "I could be the boss of my life and my schedule for the rest of my life. Like,
Yeah.
give me
Yeah.
I am good. I am good, right?" But, like, similar to you, okay, I still have, like, 40 something $1,000 worth of MBA student loans to pay off. Like, that is not financial freedom. Even if I were to start a business, who wants to start a business with a $750 loan hanging over your head every single month? Like, businesses take time to really generate a profit, you know? And so that was just a no-go. So similar to you, I went back, but I told myself, I'm going to go back into an industry or a role that feels good to me. So, like, if I am going back to corporate, it has to be under an umbrella of something that actually means something to me and is of service in a way that feels good to me. And I landed my corporate dream job. It wasn't my dream job, but of all the corporate jobs, it was a corporate dream job. And I felt very lucky for that. And that allowed me, to get back on the path to becoming debt free.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that, I love that. And I think it also points to this piece of, that the sort of the long-term change takes time and is in
Mhm.
phases.
Yeah.
Like I think very naively thought I was like, "I'm gonna take this year off, and at the end of the year, I'm gonna know exactly what I'm gonna
Oh,
do for
yeah.
the rest of my life and
Yeah.
career. It's gonna be crystal clear." I
Yep.
absolutely did not. But I knew that I didn't wanna be a full-time employee anymore, so I was like, "All right, well, I'm gonna start doing kinda contract freelance work." And then from there, right, like, I
Mm.
just moved off of, "These are the things that are important to me, and
Yeah.
this is how I'll make the steps forward," versus I mean, I don't know, maybe there are some folks who kind of end and are like, boom, got it. But there is that reality that, yeah, like, there will probably still be open questions, and that's okay. And it's okay to
Yeah.
take time to move towards the ultimate vision.
Yeah, it's an evolution, and I think of it like at the beginning, it feels like you're risking so much to take this time off. Like you're like, I might sacrifice every hard thing I've ever done in my career. Every sacrifice I've made might be worthless. I might be penniless and broke, and I just blew it all away because I just needed some time off. Like total worst case scenario visioning, right?
Yeah.
And you can be having that fear. And I think what you're looking for is like, it will all be worth it if at the end of it, I
Yeah.
have this clarity. And then what you're really trying to say is, I want a shortcut to just showing up and knowing what I do that I enjoy. So I can just do that, make money, and live my life. It's like I just want it to be easy where I have the answer and I just execute on the plan over and over again, like
Yeah.
comfort, right? I want to get back to a comfort zone and I need this concrete outcome to feel like this is worth it. And I think that is a goal. I mean, I actually have the same vision, right? It's like, I'm going to take this time off and then I'm going to have so much clarity on what I want to do. But really, what I was trying to shortcut is the journey. I want to get to the destination as fast as I can to be sure I get there and to know what it's like. I don't want to be on the road anymore, like when this break is over, trying to figure it out. But when you take a break and you realize the journey is the thing and you learn how to have more joy and alignment in the journey and to like really savor it and to be more at peace with the uncertainty and just accepting because the uncertainty is there regardless of whether you're on a break or not, but to just really know it and have it in your face and then learn how to like be a person that can be present to that and not like panic.
Yeah.
I feel like you get to the end of your break and there's more permission for evolution. There's more like, okay, what is my next right step? Maybe there's a bridge job. Maybe it's like you said, like contracting, freelancing on my way to like completely doing my own thing. Like it's basically figuring out like, okay, I made it somewhere. Like I got somewhere and I love this place, but it's not like my final destination. And that's okay because now I'm operating in a way where the journey is enjoyable, where I have more tolerance to be in the journey instead of thinking that the destination, the final destination is what's going to save me from myself.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
I love it. Yeah. Cause it's changing that mindset and perspective and being present to the experience.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. There are folks who are here want to offer an opportunity to pop in any questions, and I know we're getting close to when Katrina, you need to hop off. We'll see if there are any questions that come in, but otherwise, I'd love to say, are there any final thoughts or words of wisdom that you'd want to offer to folks who are either in a forced career break right now, or are contemplating a career break in this moment of time?
Yeah, I mean, spend time getting really clear on what an ideal break would look like so that you can understand the benefits of it and what you stand to gain if you were to take that leap, because I think a lot of times your brain will easily focus on what you think you're going to lose. And
Yeah,
so it's equally important to know, like, what would I gain? Because if you don't take a break, then you stand to lose all those things that you would gain. So like really assess it in a 360-degree view. I think that's important. And if you were let go, and that wasn't your choice, but like you've decided to reclaim this time and really own the break, I just like to say you're on a break if you choose to own it and claim it and make it yours. You just didn't choose your start date. There
yeah,
is like that is it. You did not choose the start date, but you absolutely chose the break, and you can make it very powerful and very intentional as well.
yeah. I love that. I love that. And then as a follow-up to that, I'd also ask, because I know sometimes people can have a hard time accessing like what they actually want, right? When you speak to like what an ideal break would
Yeah.
be. Do you have thoughts or tips on how folks, if they're having trouble doing that,
Yeah.
things that they could do?
For sure. So I like to think of it as the break blueprint. Like you start with the purpose, and then you think about the themes. There are some questions you can ask yourself, but like if you're struggling even with some reflection to figure out what you want, some easy way whenever you're in that very like unimaginative place or you can't access your imagination is to think about envy being like admiration hijacked by ego. So, what are you admiring in other people's lives? Like, what do you see on your feed? Or what stories do you hear about where you just feel this immense, like this sort of like overwhelming, like instantaneous, almost like not even thoughtful, like reaction where you're like, oh, lucky bees. You know what I mean? Like, just like that, oh, they're so lucky, or oh, I wish I could, or
Mhm,
like, oh, I
mhm.
hate that they, XYZ and I can't. Like,
Yeah.
notice what you're feeling envy around and like distill that down to like those are the things that you're really lacking or wanting more of in your life. And that can be a great place to see some inspiration. For me, it was reading books and reading travel blogs. And, like some of the places I actually traveled to during my own career break, like Provence and Avignon, was based on a book. And Peter Mayle wrote A Year in Provence, and he very detailed described all of these amazing meals that he ate. And I'm like in love with food. And after reading that book, I was like, I will go eat there. I will go eat there. And I literally went to Avignon to eat for 2 weeks, and it was everything I wanted it to be and more. I loved every second of that trip. But, like, sometimes the books or the experiences that other people have, like, there's something that resonates even if you don't know why or you think that's not a big enough deal. Like,
Mhm.
I watched Evita when I was in college, and I just remember thinking, like, "One day I'm gonna see Argentina," and then, flash forward, I'm 32 years old, I'm on my career break. I've never been to Argentina as of yet, and I booked an Airbnb sight unseen for a month, and I just was like, "I'm gonna go be there for a month. I'm gonna know what it's like to be a local there." And I
Mhm.
did it, and I freaking loved it, and I went back for another month 4 years later. And so, like, for me, a lot of it was inspired by movies, books, things like
Mhm.
that. I mean, we didn't really have podcasts back then, but I'm sure that could have been a great source as well. But it's like, notice what you admire, notice what, like, sparks something in you or just, like, really resonates where you're like, "Oh, I wanna see that. Oh, I wanna eat that. Oh, I wanna try that." And just start collecting ideas.
Yeah, yeah. I love that. I love that. Well, thank you so much for being here, Katrina. I've loved hearing from you. And where can folks find you if they want to work with you, and or just follow your work?
Yeah, you can connect with me on LinkedIn, and send me a DM if you want to know more. But I think the coolest and very time relevant thing is, so Lyndall and we do twice a year, we'll do a workshop. And so we're going to do another workshop. And I think it's very related to kind of like what's going on. And so it's, how do I take a break without falling behind? Because on so many consults I have been doing, and Lyndall as well, and even within our members, there's this fear of, if I take a break, I am so going to fall behind in a way that I will never be able to catch back up. And so we decided to do a whole workshop about it. And it's going to be April 15th. We're very excited for it. So if you send me a DM on LinkedIn, I'm happy to send you the link when that's ready, but also you can just follow me on LinkedIn and then we'll start posting about it when we have that up and running, which will probably be in a week. But I'm really excited for it. And we're going to kind of dive deeper on this idea of like, what does a break that doesn't let you fall behind but actually moves you forward, like what does that look like, and how do you create that kind of experience? So I'm excited for that.
Amazing. Yeah, very, very apropos.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. This was so amazing. Thank you so much for having me on. I love this conversation, and I think it's so important that we're doing the work to help more people take breaks that transform their lives for the better, like we both experienced in our own way. So it's always fun to see another friendly face out there, sharing the stories and giving more evidence that this is something you can do. It is accessible with planning, and it can create a whole better, reality for you once your break is over.
Yes, yes. No, thank you so much for being on here. Loved having you and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you as well.
Catch you later.
Bye.
All right. And so for folks that are staying on, if you haven't been here before, I typically do just a really brief guided grounding meditation, just to take a beat, pause, a breath in your day. Just did a little switcheroo and moved it to the end, just to accommodate Katrina's schedule. So if you're hanging around for the last 10 to 15 minutes or so for that, you're very welcome. So if you are, what I'd invite you to do is to find a comfortable private spot. Maybe you're at home, maybe you're at the office, just wherever you can find a spot that feels where you can just relax. When you find that spot, just inviting you to find a comfortable position. Maybe you're sitting. If you're at home, maybe you're able to even lie down on a couch, a bed, the floor. Just inviting you to get comfortable, to get into a position that helps you feel at ease. When you find that position, I want to invite you to either close your eyes or keep a soft gaze and just take a beat to notice what helps you feel grounded or more settled here. Where could you place your hands on your body that lets you know that you're safe and secure? Maybe you want to gently sway back and forth. Just inviting you to notice how you can feel even more secure and grounded here. And as you tap into that sense of security in your body, I want to invite you to notice your breath. There's nothing that you need to do or change. Just perhaps notice how it feels for your chest to rise and fall. Notice how that air moving in and out of your body feels. And as you tune into your breath, I want to invite you to become aware of your heart and heart space. Maybe you want to gently place a hand on your heart, inviting you to tune into what feels present and alive here. If it feels good, you're also welcome to bring in any movement, big or small, in this heart or chest space. Maybe you want to roll your shoulders back or forward. Maybe you feel like a twist. Or maybe there's breath or sound that this heart space is calling for. And as you tune in and become present to your heart space, I invite you to gently bring your awareness to your pelvic area. Tuning into what feels alive, what feels present. Maybe you want to breathe into your left hip. Maybe you want to breathe into your right hip. You can breathe into your center. And here as well, you're invited to take any movements, big or small, that this area is calling for. Maybe you want to take a twist with your lower back. Maybe you even want to do a little playful shake or shimmy. Just inviting you to invite any movement in that feels like this area is calling for. And as you've connected into this part of your body, inviting you to notice if there's any other movement, breath, or even sound that your body is calling for. And as you tune into what your body might be calling for, I'm going to invite you to consider this brief reflection and question, inviting you to perhaps drop it into your body and see what emerges from your body. I dance through the inner seasons of life, knowing each cycle ultimately takes me forward. I dance through the inner seasons of life, knowing each cycle ultimately takes me forward. And inviting you to consider the question, which inner season do you need to name and claim to embrace and enjoy more fully? Which inner season do you need to name and claim to embrace and enjoy more fully? And as you hold that question in your body, maybe there's an image that comes up, or maybe it's a sound, a word, a phrase. There may be even a way that your body wants to move and respond to this statement in question, inviting you to make any movements, big or small, as you consider this question. Knowing that you don't need to push or force any kind of answer or meaning. What needs to come up will come up. And as you hold this question and reflection of which inner season you need to name and claim, to embrace and enjoy more fully, maybe you resonate with the sense of winter, spring, summer, or fall. Maybe you have the sense of an ending or a beginning. Maybe you even have a invitation to surrender to what feels messy or complex or unknown. What season are you being invited to acknowledge and embrace at this time in your life? And as you've been holding that season, that question, inviting you to notice if there are any final movements, final breath, final sound that your body wants to express. Maybe you want to offer your body a word of thanks for the wisdom that your body has offered, or even just for your body being present and carrying you through the day to day. And when you feel ready and in your own time, I invite you to gently open your eyes if they've been closed. Maybe you want to look around your space to reorient. And when you're ready, welcome back to whichever space in which you find yourself. As always, I hope that was a helpful beat and pause in your day to feel reconnected. As always, I always invite if you have any thoughts, reflections, things that came up from that meditation or that came up from the conversation that we had earlier with Katrina. Also, questions are welcome. You're always free to DM me. I always love to hear what's resonating for folks. And as usual, I will put the information that we've talked about in the comments for today's live. If you are not able to join live during the session, you can always check out the recording. And finally, I just want to let folks know that I will, on April 14th, be co-hosting a workshop called How to Quit Your Job, or sorry, How to Take a Career Break Without Quitting Your Job. And I'll be partnering with Jalen Agnew, who is an licensed mental health therapist who has worked with a number of clients to help them get a targeted break job protected break by using the Family Medical Leave Act, FMLA, or in short-term disability. So these are potential options within the U.S. For how you can take a career break. Particularly if you're a person who you're experiencing mental health needs, physical health needs. So this is potentially a way that you can leverage in order to take a break that would not require you to leave your job. So that will be happening on April 14th. Registration is open for that now, so I will also include that information in the comments, and I will also be. You can also keep your eyes and ears out on these LinkedIn streets for more information about that as I keep promoting it. And with that, thank you if you were here, and thank you if you're watching later, wherever you find yourself. As I always say, we're in the wildest of times. Please take care of you, take care of your people, and be well. Have a great day.